Welcome to another episode of Money You Should Ask. I'm your host, Bob Wheeler, and in this episode, we are going to explore, question, examine, converse, dig deep, expose, laugh, and cry about the money beliefs, money blocks, and life challenges of our next guest. Turn up the volume, listen, learn, and laugh. Now, today's podcast is sponsored by The Money Nerve, your resource for financial education. In 2020, April of 2020, The Money Nerve launches its newest online course, The Course to Financial Freedom. So sign up early and get a 25% early bird discount. And be sure to check out the website at themoneynerve.com/course. All right, my guest today, Joe DiSanto. Let me build you up, Joe, because it's a pretty cool bio here. Joe built a multi-million-dollar post-production company, produced critically acclaimed films and an Emmy-winning TV show, invested millions of dollars in real estate, and semi-retired by the age of 43. Now he's sharing a lifetime of fiscal know-how via Play Louder, a resource that helps individuals and business owners increase their net worth and plan for the future. Joe, welcome.
Thanks, Bob. How's it going, man?
It's going, man. So I got to say, I love your title, Play Louder.
Thank you.
Tell me how that came about.
Well, I always get like kind of excited and anxious when someone asks me this because it's like not like sexy or like emotional or anything at all. All right, it's really functional. Basically, when I started getting into doing a blog, I took some courses, much like you just mentioned, but this one was about SEO and things like that. And the guy was like, you can save yourself a bunch of work and time by buying a domain that already existed and was like a good domain that someone like let lapse. So I was like, for various SEO reasons. So I was like, okay. So I just started poking around and I found this domain, Play Louder, and I was like, I don't know, I like this name and it's got like really good SEO stats. And I'm like, okay, can I turn this into something that would work for me? And finally, like probably after my wife, and I hanging out and talking about it for a while, we came up with our tagline and it kind of fit in just right. And now I'm like, I think it worked out for the best.
Yeah, I love it.
There you go, man. It was no awesome, brain.
I thought there was going to be some great, sexy story about how you had this vision and like you realized you just needed to play louder. I'll tell you why I like it, because I think a lot of people play it safe, and so in just the languaging of playing it safe, people also try to not be visible or not have what they want. And so when I heard Play Louder, to me, for me, it's like show up. Yeah. And like show up and show up big. Like
I like that,
go home.
Man. Look how well this freaking website is working for me. Well, the thing about it is it really did tie in a lot to what like I was thinking about at the time. Obviously, like in my totally rad bio that you read there, I consider myself in this semi-retired state. Yeah. And like the whole purpose of that was to, doing all those things that I mentioned, in the bio, also like creating the company and that, which I did with partners, by the way. I always like to make sure I mention that because I love my partners. But, it was a ton of work and like I was working all the time. And then, my wife and I had a kid and, I can get into it if you want, but we eventually decided that we wanted to work less and so we could basically see the kid.
Right, see your child.
and give the relationship a chance to actually be a success. And just kind of have a little bit more regular fun. So, and that's kind of where our whole tagline of work smarter, plan better, play louder. It like really was a natural fit. So I just need to lie and come up with a better story for the domain itself.
Well, no, it's great because people are going to take from it what they take. So, hey, you got a great tag. I love it. Man. So if I remember correctly, you worked on Wall Street for about 10 minutes.
Yep. Yeah, I did.
And it wasn't fulfilling.
No, it wasn't.
What happened?
Well, finance is always something I was into for whatever reason. I don't know exactly. Well, I kind of know why. I've reverse engineered an understanding of it through my family history. But so while I was always interested in art, and that's what I ended up really doing, going into post production and things like that. Like finance was just something of interest to me. I like stock market stuff. I always like managing my personal finances. So I had an opportunity to go give it a try, and I was like, well, I should definitely try that because it's something I've always, like I said, showed an interest in. So I went down there, and I mean, it's amazingly, I worked in the World Trade Center Tower 2 on the 60th floor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. And
Wow.
like I left there, basically, I was there for 2 months in the summer of 1998.
Wow.
And if I had stayed and pursued that, I would have remained there. So I mean,
Oh,
it
wow.
just trips me out sometimes when I think about it. But the reason I didn't like it is just like, well, one, I had to shave every day,
Oh,
which was like really hard for me. I have sensitive skin, and I just don't like to shave with an actual razor. And I know this sounds crazy, but like I never wanted to shave. I use like a beard trimmer.
yeah.
And to add more like humor to the story, like in high school, anytime I was unshaven, my dad was one of those like old school sort of people that you shave every day, and he was just
Right.
always on my frigging case to shave. And I'm
Right.
like, why? Why does it matter? And he's like, because eventually you're gonna have to get a job, blah blah blah. And he was right. I went to Wall Street, and they were like, when I went for the interview, I had like stubble, and they were like, you're gonna have to shave, pretty clean like every day, and you're gonna have to get like a suit. Like I would go to like Saul Sims, something
Yeah.
conservative. So right away, I was like sniffing out that maybe this career was not for me.
That's yeah. I just love. First of all, I love that shaving or not shaving could be like a big decision maker in a career path.
When you have the sensitive skin that I do, Bob, and like the razor burn that ensues from a regular shave, it's pretty serious. But
Yeah.
but besides that, it was like it's this extreme corporateness,
Yeah.
and it really is. I mean, at least it was then. Like I was working in the bond department, and right on the floor where the trading floor was, and it's just like a meathead fraternity, I guess I felt like
Yeah.
a little bit. I mean, I know
Yeah.
that's not all of it, but
Yeah, but
that
it's a
was
bit
the
of it.
feeling I was getting, and
Yeah.
it was just I don't know. And then you combine that with like sort of the corporate ladder climb, and
But your
it
pivot,
just seemed kind of stifling a little bit, So I was disappointed in that sense because I knew that you could make a lot of money working
Right.
on Wall Street.
but
And
you can make a lot of money.
you can make money elsewhere though too, I guess. So
That is true. But there was a pivotal, if I remember, there was a pivotal moment though. You were commuting.
yes, oh yeah. So that was the like where I ended up living. I was in New York. I worked in post production my first year, and then I like switched to this thing to give it a try. But I had moved out to Long Island, so I was like riding the Long Island Railroad like every day. And when
Right.
you don't have a lot of money in New York, you got to go further and further out. I mean, these days,
Right.
like you got to go to like Wisconsin, basically.
Oh,
If
geez.
you don't make a lot of money, but I was riding like the train like an hour and a half each way. So I was getting up at like 5:30 in the morning. I was getting on like
Joyful.
a 6:30 train.
Mm.
And like on the way home, you would just look around and just see all these people that were just like, they just look beaten down.
Right.
They had their brown bag beer, and they were just like staring blankly off into
That's
to
right.
space. And
Right.
they just looked like they weren't having any fun anymore. So
I-
I was like, is this going to be me like 20 years from now? Am I just going to
Yeah.
ride this train for 20 damn years and just drink my brown bag beer on the way home? And then, I'm just like, I don't know. this is not feeling right.
But a lot of people do that. A lot of people make that choice.
I know.
What?
And
how did you feel? Like, how did you know? Like, that you had a choice, right? And a lot of those people, I don't think feel like they have a choice. They feel like that's what they have to do.
Yeah.
But you didn't do that.
Well, I think you're right in that people don't feel like they have a choice, especially once you kind of get in down a road. The thing about life in general and particularly work is you get going on something and you invest a bunch of time, and if at some point 5 to 10 years out, you're like, I don't know if I like this. This isn't going the way I wanted. You're kind of like, well, how the hell am I going to do anything else now? This is
Right.
what I do. I would have to
This is what I
take a
picked.
pay cut. I'd have to re-educate myself. Who knows? So in a way, being that I was young and I basically had nothing and really nothing to lose, I was like, if there's ever a time to do abandon ship, this is now. Like I might as well just make the tough decision and go back to the other thing I was doing, which seems better. And honestly, I guess I felt good about it, and I'm like, I tried something different. Like, I think that's a great thing for everyone to do if they can try a few things out before you have major responsibilities, and then hopefully you pick something.
How do you though then pick up from Long Island in New York and land yourself in California?
Well, I just I think I'm like I like to travel. I guess I don't travel like honestly that much, but I've decided the reason I like to travel. This is from reading and some listen to some books and stuff. Like I'm a little bit of like OCD-ish. I mean, nothing super clinical. I don't wash my hands like 100 times a day, but like once I get started on something, like it's hard for me to not stop. Or, like I like my house or my environment tidy, it's like I can't chill out if it's not tidy. So I think traveling is something that's good for people like that because everything's new and nothing's permanent. So you don't worry about a lot of like, stupid stuff. Like if your house is neat, because you're like, well, I'm on the road right now. So I had this desire to go on this road trip, and I was like cross country road trip. And I kind of talked my girlfriend at the time into it, which I was excited about because she was not a very spontaneous person, actually. So I was like, I don't know if she's going to bite on this, but she actually was miserable enough in her first job that she was like, all right, whatever.
Oh, there you go. Misery loves company.
Yeah. So I was like, let's just do it. Let's get out of here. And like, we'll come back. We'll just do it for 2 months. And basically I'm like, we're going to finance this thing on credit cards. I mean, we're going to go like really bad here. But this is the time. And so we head off on this cross-country road trip. And I was like, when we get back, going to get back into post-production and all that jazz. So, but we go to California. Well, we went all over. We went, down through Nashville, Memphis, Texas,
gotta love Nashville,
Colorado, all that jazz. And then we kind of swooped through California and went all the way, ended up going all the way up to Vancouver. But we're in California for like a week because her cousin actually lived there and she liked him a lot. They were friendly. So we stayed with him. And I was poking around the post-production and production scene there. And I was like, oh, I see. California like is kind of the best place in the world to do this.
There's a lot of it.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, like, I don't know if you got New Yorkers or Californians listening, but like
there's like, people from Germany.
I feel like there's
everywhere.
This, like, general scenario where New Yorkers are like, man, LA, fuck, that place is weird. I could, like I could visit there, but I could just never live there,
Right.
So I had this vision that at Los Angeles was just like this horrible apocalyptic, like smog infested,
bunch of weird people.
Yeah. And then I got here and I was like, what the hell are these people talking about?
It's actually pretty cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I was like, I said to my girlfriend again, this non-spontaneous girlfriend, we left, we went all the way to Vancouver, and I was like, I don't want to go back there, man. I don't want to go back to New York. LA looks so good. We should just drive down there and like we'll figure it out. And let's just move to Los Angeles.
Wow.
And again, she was like, okay. Mainly because her cousin was there and she liked him a lot and they were friends. So it was like a good comfort thing.
Right.
So yeah, I basically went on a road trip and it lasted like 20 years basically.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
And it worked out, it was definitely
out.
Dicey at first. But we ended up getting a really great little, 1-bedroom apartment in Venice, California, which at the time was kind of like a more hip, kind of artsy and not as expensive place.
Oh yeah, now it's nobody can live there now.
Yeah, now it's just ridiculous. So we got a 1-bedroom place for $800.
Wow,
right? Like 3 blocks from the beach, and I'm like,
nice.
Who in the right mind in New York would think this was bad? This is awesome. I always felt
That's
like in New York, as much as I enjoyed it there, like it was fun, it was a lot of energy, partying, it was like a good time. But I got kind of burnt out on it, I think, just partly because of my OCD-ish kind of tendencies.
yeah,
But I would
yeah,
be, towards the end, I'd be like, kind of walking down the street or in a cab and, I'd be looking in the windows of like the various, like Greek coffee shops or
right,
whatever and see all the people in there. And I'd just be like, I think you guys can just leave this place if you want. I don't think
right.
you actually just have to stay here forever.
But do you not miss the like New York delis and the New York pizza and the cabs?
I don't miss cabs, man. Cabs are dirty.
Yeah. Yes. Uber.
I do
Uber
miss
Lyft.
though. One of my favorite things in the world is a chicken cutlet sandwich with onions and tomatoes and lettuce and mayonnaise from a Greek restaurant
Hmm.
in New York with French fries from Greek restaurants because they always have the best fries.
They do.
So I do miss that. And then New York's great, great, great. Don't get me wrong; it's a wonderful place, and my heart goes out to it right now. I know a lot of people that live there, and but
But
LA
then
was for me. And
and
now I live
then
in sunny Florida.
and now you live in sunny Florida. You picked up. You had a successful business going.
Hmm.
Uh, Still going. You had, you guys had a warehouse and you bought real estate, and then you just picked up and said, "Yeah, I'm going to Florida via Texas."
Yeah, sort of, pretty much in a sort of a way. It seemed that crazy to most people we knew. Like, most of my friends who were still in Los Angeles, pretty much all my friends, they were just like, "What? What is that? What are you doing? Like, why are you doing this?"
Right. Because you're
Uh,
supposed to build up and amass everything, right? And
yeah.
never alter the course.
And then, by all accounts, my wife and I, we work together at my business with our partners who are our best friends, and by all accounts, it was an ideal situation. Like, I
Right.
mean, believe me, I had nothing to complain about.
Right.
But you can get annoyed with anything. I feel like in life, if you do if you
Right.
do it
Do it
long
long
enough,
enough. For sure. For
it's like,
sure.
so, in entertainment, we worked largely in advertising and entertainment, and it's just it's an intense racket. Like
Yeah.
you have to live it. You work 12, 16 hours a day. You work just a lot, and you have to fully commit yourself to it. And when you're not working, you're going out too, doing the social thing, doing the night shift as I call it, and I loved all that. None of that was
Right.
a problem per se, but do it for a good, really solid for 15 years, and you start to get a little tired of the game.
Yeah.
So that was
Well,
kind of seeping in a little bit, but
it,
then we had a kid, and we were
yeah.
like, oh my god, this is the most insane thing we've ever done. Like, now we can't like work all the time. What are we
Right. Oh, you have to like feed them and nurture them.
Yeah, you have to
Things like
get
that.
kids.
Yeah.
You don't really. I definitely didn't have a handle on it, but it's 24-hour surveillance. Like,
Right.
you
It
can't
does.
actually take eyes off those things.
No, no, you don't get to sleep.
No, and in the
There's
beginning,
no
yeah, you
no
don't get to
rest.
sleep, no rest, and like you always have to either be watching them or paying someone to watch them, and that
That's
can be
right.
really hard when you have a really demanding work schedule. So
Yeah. And do you and you spend a lot of your time with your son now? Do you talk to him about money?
Well, he's only 4, so
Uh-huh.
I talked to him. I
Well, I
probably
mean, do you,
talked to him about like
maybe
what I'm
about
doing, and he's
abundance
not
of
listening.
toys.
Yeah.
What about I mean, maybe not money, but like, does he know that he does he get all the toys he wants in the world? Does he get? Is it yes to everything? Does he have to learn delayed gratification?
Gosh, Bob, you're making me feel like we have no plan whatsoever in this realm. Well, no, I would say he probably has everything he wants, needs, and more. But he's not a real bratty kid or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't think about it that much. But we do talk a lot about like things like him leaving on the water when he's washing his hands, like
Right.
simple things like that where I'm like, you have to turn the water off because one, it's a precious resource that, who knows, we might
Hmm.
run out of one day. But two, it's not free, dude. Like, we got to pay for all that water that's just falling out of the tap going in the hole, like that
Ah,
you're
that's
not
great.
using, So anytime there's an opportunity to point out that things cost money, And if it costs money, that's more time daddy or mommy, has to be away from him because they have to
Right.
earn that money. So if he wants more of them, he has to be less wasteful, and try
See,
to preserve.
I love that. It's one of the things, and I know I probably grew up in an earlier time than you, but a lot of parents, I watch them tell their kids the reason you brush your teeth is you'll get cavities, or there's this. My parents were like, wash your hands, turn off the water, brush your teeth, or I'll slap you. I'm like, oh. So there's always violence that follows non-behavior.
Yeah, I know.
As opposed to explanations are nice.
Yeah, I got subjected to the fear of God parenting style as well. Luckily up until my parents split up, which was some of the reason of that. Just because and I see now like how much easier that is in a way, like because I could scare the shit out of my kid if I wanted to, and he'd stop doing something. But kind of the reverse lesson is every time I do that, like I increase the chance of him never talking to me again.
Right.
Once he gets to leave the house, so I'd like him to want to come home for a holiday, perhaps. So I'm trying to do the more modern approach. We call it the gentle parenting approach.
Well, it's good then, and also you don't get calls from social services. Like they can. I'm going to tell on you. Like kids can tell on you these days.
Yeah, or in the same like financial sort of preservation, be like, I could be abusive, but then it would cost me a lot of money in legal fees,
right? To
get out from under that, Lucas. So I'm not going to do that.
Cost benefit.
I always do the cost benefit analysis. I'm actually trying to do the cost benefit analysis of actually having children right now.
Oh, have you figured out the balance?
I probably won't post that because I don't want people to think I'm pointless. But you can put a number on anything, Bob. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You can do the math on anything.
So what do you? But having a kid is priceless, right? I mean, there's a lot of maintenance, but it's priceless.
Yeah, no, I mean, kids are awesome in so many ways. But they're a lot of work, dude, and it's not it's not all fun. So
no, it's work.
I can see. I read some book called Abundance a while back, and it kind of talked about the statistics of how, as populations become sort of more affluent and like they have more choices and they have more options, and they generally tend to have less kids because they're like, well, if I have less kids, I could actually go do this, or I could actually go do that.
I could travel.
Yeah. Back in the day, it was like, we're going to be basically locked down to this farm, whether we like it or not. So we should just, keep producing free farm hands.
Well, that's exactly. Then you got more people to do the labor.
Yeah. And, most likely a couple of them are going to die off anyway,
so
for whatever reason.
Increase the odds. Yeah.
So that's now it's like, I'm like, wow, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, these kids. I don't get to do anything that really I want to do anymore. I have to buy into something he likes and sort of merge it with a potential interest of my own.
Well, and unlike pets, they have a longer lifespan. So you sort of you don't get to trade them in or trade up. You're sort of,
the food costs are crazy.
That's right.
Clothing, all that jazz. But it's pretty cool. I mean, they're interesting. I mean, they do bring out, in some ways, I think the best in adults.
Well, they hold you accountable.
They sure do. Man. But it's been good. Like, our goal, like I said, was to spend more time with him, and we've achieved that, luckily. And it's been good. I mean, I could see it very clearly in my relationship with him because I was just home the least, in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And, I was just sort of a tertiary player. I was like some guy that sort of was around on the weekends, but was kind of grumpy or whatever.
Right.
And actually, my son, in the first couple of years, whenever, he's a mama's boy for sure anyway, and his mom's pretty awesome, so I'm not surprised he likes her. But she would be like, oh, you should go do that with daddy or whatever, and Luca would be like, I don't want to hang out with daddy.
He's mean.
Yeah. He would say he's grouchy.
He doesn't shave.
Yeah, he's scratchy, and so I was like, well, I'm gonna try not to take that personally, Luca. But I know you're just two, but one day, like about 6 months into our chain leaving and like me being around more, it was kind of weird. It was like right out of the blue. One day, I feel like it was even out of context. Like I don't even talking about it. He went like, "Daddy's not grumpy anymore." And
Wow.
my wife and I were like, "Whoa, is that just random, or could that actually be connected to all? Is it all tied together? It's hard. We'll never
Wow.
know, Bob. We'll never know. But
Yeah,
it
but
happened.
that's pretty insightful, though. I mean, like, however it happened, that's pretty awesome.
No, it really is. Like, I mean, if you spend time with your kids, they like that. It turns out, yeah.
It turns out.
If you're cool and nice, you don't always have. You can be a disciplinarian for sure, but you don't have to be scary and just a jerk for being a jerk's sake. If you're with them and you try, they end up liking you more. Yeah, and
Yeah.
they want to hang out with you. So go figure.
Yeah,
They didn't know that in the 70s, I guess.
They did not.
They were just
They did not.
you just threatened to hit them over everything, and then you eventually
right.
have to hit them a few times because they
Right.
need to know you're serious. So
That's right. And eventually
you get results.
And you get results, and eventually they go off and resent you.
Yeah.
It's great.
And then you're like, why don't you ever want to come visit me? It's been like 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just
Let
busy.
Let me get my notebook. Let me get the list. What is with people out there today that are having a family, not happy in their jobs? Like, what would you tell people that that want to make they might want to make a switch? They want to play louder.
Yeah.
What would you say to those people?
It's a good question, Bob. Because that's, I guess, in a sense, what my site is about. Well, I would say that you have to. Part of what I wanted to do with the site is help people to understand that planning isn't just for like the very far off into the future.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're 75, and hopefully you get to stop working and just sit on your porch while you wither away to death.
That's happy.
Like when you're in your 20s and stuff, you're just kind of getting going, and especially nowadays, your 20s are like your teens. You're just having fun or whatever. You're not worried about stuff too much, and then you're like, I got to get serious in my career, kind of 30s, and then, maybe get into like buying a house and family, like even late 30s, 40s nowadays. At least that's how it was in LA. But it's like, what you kind of don't really realize is like, you might get sick of like what you're doing, and like not want to do it or want to have the capacity to change that, kind of like you were saying. And you need to like plan kind of for that. We started jokingly call it like act 3 before act life. So instead of life being like 3 acts where it's like, you educate for 20 years, you work for 30 to 40 years, and then you start your slow descent to death for like the last 15 years. And you hope
such a positive spin.
Yeah, you hope you make it as far as possible. Like you might be like, hey, it's more like 2020, 2020, whereas like from 40 to 60, maybe you want to change your career, maybe you want to do something different, maybe you want to work less. Yeah. Whatever. And so I think people should start planning for that potentiality as well.
Yeah.
And so obviously everyone hears you want to start planning for retirement in your 20s. I think a lot of people put it off thinking they have time, but if you start thinking I want to plan for something, maybe it's not retirement, like when I'm more like 50, 40, 50, 60, maybe you try to kick it into gear. So planning and saving and preparing, I the way I kind of describe it to people is I think you have to be financially prudent, business minded, and investment focused. And you have to do your best up until you're in your 30s, 40s, and maybe even early 50s to make the most of your income earning potential, and then have that money to make the most of itself through investing and what have you.
Yeah.
Now, I freely admit that if someone right now is 50 and they're finding themselves in that situation, that is a challenge, and they don't have the means or capacity to make a
Right.
great change like that. That,
Yeah.
in all honesty, like I toe the line between being a realist and a cynic. I often say,
Yeah.
like that's tough. That's a tough situation. You can't really do much. So, in that sense, if you have to some degree just find, certain acceptance, I guess, to a degree, but still use that as energy to refocus yourself and
Yeah.
try to put, whatever savings and whatever kind of thinking together you can to maybe bring that day that you can make that change a little bit closer. And it's, I guess ultimately a lot of people ask me, it's like, well, what exactly should I do, to do all that? And it's not brains, it's not rocket science, I guess, in that you have to continually work to increasing your earnings
Yeah.
so you can make more money and save more money. I really believe everyone's first thing should be buying property, buying a house. I
Yeah.
think basically the government incentivizes us so much with tax breaks and what have you to own real estate,
Hmm.
and the fact that you're going to most likely be renting anyway. If you don't own a house, you might as well put
Right.
that money to work and sort of get a 2-for-1, investment slash savings vehicle.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I recommend that to like all young people, even though like millennials today, there's this constant debate of like, what, should you buy a house? Should you not? Should you
No, you
rent?
just pay a monthly fee for everything.
Yeah, you're like,
that's
why? I don't
that's
get
a
it.
little.
Why wouldn't you
Yeah.
want to own the thing? And they're like, well, it seems like a lot of work. And I'm like, well,
It
yeah,
is.
but being successful is a lot of work. I mean, I don't know, unless
Well,
you get
that's
an
true.
inheritance. But yeah, if you don't feel like whatever unclogging your own toilet and working an extra 10 years, for that luxury, go for
Yeah.
it. Um,
Well, I mean, I think you
Sorry,
do have to do the
am I
work.
meandering?
No, it's okay. I mean, but you do have to do the work. If you want to have success, you got to do the work.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It's
um,
hard to be successful in America, man. It's there's a lot of people that have been here for a long time. A lot of people are entrenched in kind of their field, and there's a lot of nepotism, family things, and all that sort of stuff. Like it's hard to like you force your way into the game and into the higher earning categories. Like
yeah,
I wouldn't make any bones about it. I mean, it's kind of interesting in the last, 20 years with the internet, there has been all these kind of new ways that are like, unsaturated, or at least they were for a while, and ways to like very quick wealth if, you are very smart and an inventor or whatever it is. But even that still takes a ton of work and a lot of very
yeah.
specific know-how. So,
Do the work and play louder.
yeah.
So, I mean, but what I'm hearing you say though is, like, if you're mindful about your spending, if you're not just blissfully uh, living through life without paying attention, like if you actually focus a little bit, you can plan for the future. You can have lots of amazing things. You can take chances. Be prudent. But I'm also hearing have a little bit of fun. If you're like, if you're not having joy, if you're not grumpy, then like do things that make you happy, that don't make you grumpy, and even
Yeah.
if it's little things, do something different that fulfills you, rather than just being the robotic person on the subway drinking their brown bag beer. Like,
Yes, I totally. I mean, and I guess to kind of connect that a little bit to spending and stuff. Another thing that I think is really critical for people to do of any age, and it's never too late to start, is to track your income and expenses. Just like
yeah,
a business. I always
just
considered
track it.
I considered my personal life the business of me, and I always be like, well, if the business of me makes more than he spends, then that's not a real good business to be in.
Right.
And if you do that, you can really identify things, like you can identify how much you're spending on what, and you can take the time to decide, is that really that worth it? That spending that
That's
money
right.
doing that. Do I get it? What's the cost benefit analysis? I guess, do I get as much joy
Yeah.
out of that as it costs me? And a lot of times
Exactly.
on the stupid shit, no. Like, like buying new cars or leasing new cars every 3 months or something, it's you get like a rush at the beginning, but then it just becomes your car, and is it
And then it
worth,
just becomes a payment.
yeah, this indebtedness, or there's tons of things like that are big ticket items and small ticket items, and you can kind of systematically eradicate a lot of that stuff from your life, save more money, and then decide, what do I really like to do, and what's worth either spending money on, or like what fun things can I do that maybe are not extremely expensive.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sound like fun to do that kind of analysis, and maybe it isn't for everybody, but it's worth it.
But in the long run, I think it is worth it, and it pays dividends like tenfold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where can people find you on social media?
Well, I get I'm not the best social media person, but I do have social media locations. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Pinterest, and Twitter mostly, I guess you would say. And well, because I'm very business oriented, my LinkedIn is actually probably one of my most like active social media-ish places. But then mainly like my website, playlouder.com. Pretty much what I'm putting there is basically free resources for the most part about saving money, budgeting, tracking your spending, real estate investing, like being tax efficient, something a lot about, and trying to not just unnecessarily give lots of money away if you don't have to in the tax front. And then I have some like little mini free courses on those topics.
Cool.
And then also like, I do this consulting work for businesses mostly, where I manage all their businesses' money and their spending, and I report to them what they're doing, and I kind of act as the person, or I do that for them. And but mostly again, I do it for businesses. So I'm trying to give those tools to individuals so that they can do it themselves. Yeah. So
that's great.
That's all on my website, and it's
check it out. Check it out. Well, I appreciate having the conversation with you today. I'm going to do my little my little awkward transition here. I want to say, don't forget to share the love. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Search for Money You Should Ask, all one word. You can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast player. Once again, thank you to the Money Nerve, our sponsor for this podcast. Be sure to check out the Course to Financial Freedom. You can find it at themoneynerve.com/course. Joe, it has been fun talking with you. I hope people check out your website.
Yeah, thanks.
I think it's awesome that you are semi-retired and actually doing things that fill your passion. And I hope people out there will be inspired to make a different choice in their lives and be fulfilled. So until next time.
I hope so too. Thank you for having me. And yeah, if any of your listeners, they want ask me any questions or whatever, my email is readily available on my site. They can just email me and I'll see if I can help them.
Awesome. Till next time.
Cool, man.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Talk to you later.